Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You are listening to The Wilder Ride, getting wilder by the minute. Here are your hosts, Alan Sanders and Walt Murray.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to, well, I don't even know if it's another episode. I don't know what this is, but welcome back to The Wilder Ride.
This is Wilder Ride Sequestered Edition.
This is the home quarantine, the stay in groups of less than 10, don't go outside, don't make eye contact, wash yourself with borax 12 times a day.
Doesn't that kind of define the life of a podcaster anyway?
Well, the borax part, I don't know. I've run into some when they come out in the light of day and they go, oh, it's still daylight, it burns. Hey, Alan Sanders, that's my buddy Walt Murray. We haven't done shit all year.
No, we have not.
And we have actually some really good reason. And then ironically, we ended up having, maybe because we couldn't get the season underway early for other mitigating circumstances, we're in the midst of being locked down pretty much everywhere in the country right now. In fact, most of the people who listen to this podcast in Western Europe and around the world, they all know what we're talking about. Let's just get it out of the way. COVID-19.
Yes, COVID-19. And I mean, granted, we have never seen anything like this before, so it's kind of new to everybody.
Well, wait a minute. Are you saying we've never seen anything like this in terms of a pathogen, or never anything like this in terms of how we're responding to it?
The reaction.
The reaction,
to it.
Okay.
The reaction. And just shutting basically the world down. And we all basically got time out. Yeah. And got sent to our rooms.
You know, that whole economy thing, way overrated.
Oh, yeah. I mean, nobody needs a 401k or any kind of retirement or a job.
Income. Income just gets in the way of being able to have more free time.
It really, really does.
You know, going to work.
It really, really does.
Having things to do for somebody else. Collecting that paycheck. I mean, all of that just unnecessary if you could just stay home and do nothing.
Well, my wife's kind of going crazy because she's a school teacher, so she actually has to teach by video.
Oh, yeah, digital learning.
Yeah, and she's a kindergarten teacher.
How the fuck do you teach? Sorry, I know we're normally a safe for work podcast, but I'm just in a mood. How do you wait a second. They're home with their parents. They can't teach them the ABCs and this is the color red and the color green and the color blue.
Well, you would be surprised.
You know what? I wouldn't actually. That's sad.
But the good thing is she's been able to go through spelling words and she's helping the kids read. And, you always worry about, you hear the thing about, homeschoolers still get socialization. Well, all the kids are, the first day it was like 7 kids. Then they got the word out to everybody. They're like, oh, it's great. As they're all coming on, like showing their cats, and it's probably better learning than they've had in a while, just because now they're, as you get kind of towards this time of year, kids start getting spring fever. Well, now they're all excited and they all show up with stuff to show the rest of the class, and they're all talking and they bring their homework. And so it's almost like they all got revitalized.
Oh my God, we're going to have a whole generation. Can we have COVID-19 again? That was so much fun.
That was great. I don't actually have to see my friends, and I don't actually have to get dressed for school. But I get to go to school. So, and they're still young enough that they like it. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I guess for the kindergartner, they don't really have a sense. They're just like, oh, okay, we're just doing something different. But, my brain only has 5 years of stuff in it anyway. Everything's different every day. So, okay.
Well, I can kind of relate to that in some ways. I mean, I'm 52. Certain things start to slip away.
Which the coolest part about that is when you rediscover something you thought you're getting for the first time, but you just forgot it.
Yeah, there's this neat movie called Star Wars that I just...
Hey, honey! Check this out. You hit the switch, it grinds up the shit in the bottom of the sink. What are we going to call that? That's a garbage disposal. That's a great name.
That sounds awesome.
We ought to patent that. Yeah. What's that old joke? I'm going to put a Batman suit in my closet so when I get a full-on dementia, I'll think, oh, hi, where's Batman?
Yeah, I'm kind of there. Between this, all the other stuff I'm dealing with, and COVID-19, I'm pretty much there.
There was a great meme I saw with all the sports being canceled. You know, I'm not a huge sports guy in the sense I don't sleep, eat, and breathe stats, but I enjoy watching sports. I enjoy having sports around me, going to a baseball game or a football game. I had someone shared a meme that said, I realized with no sports that when I walked into my room, there was some strange woman sitting on the couch. Apparently she's my wife, and she's pretty nice. It's like people are discovering things like, I have dogs? Do you know how much fun they are to play with?
Well, it's like that line from The Naked Gun. Since I met you, I've discovered all kinds of new things. Birds singing, the sunshine on a bright day, stoplights.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Okay, so you and I... We haven't done a whole lot for season 3. We do have there were some actual real issues going on health-wise in the family, but then this thing broke out. Everyone's worrying about it. Whether or not we can use this time to catch up or not still remains to be seen, because ironically, I have one of the jobs I have to go in. I'm in the radio business. So
that's right. You actually are supposed to be telling people what's going on.
Right. I'm supposed to be the voice of reason. Actually, I think I might be one of the few.
You might be. Yeah, I've been listening to some of them. I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, and even some of the stuff that I normally watch, I'm turning it off. So, but it's funny because you and I were kind of chatting back and forth earlier on text, and I was like, we ought to just get together and, help people kind of get their mind off of all this crap, just like we need to get our mind off of it. And so one of the things I thought is, why don't we go through a list of movies that you can watch about contagions?
Since we're dealing with
it. What are the greatest movies for that?
Why not a pick-me-up like, I don't know, Outbreak?
Right. Well, it's funny. I found this article, and it's really great. And it's Christopher Rosa over at glamour.com wrote this. It's why I can't stop watching pandemic movies. And he gives some great suggestions. So can I throw some of these out there and just get your response to whether this is a good one or a bad one to watch during all this nonsense?
The coolest thing, we should let everybody know, no show prep. We are going into this frickin' blind.
Oh, no, I printed this like 5 minutes ago.
All right. Yeah, hit me. What you got?
Okay, so one of them, and I'm not going to read all of them, but he has 21 on here. But number 3 on his list is The Day After Tomorrow from 2004.
The Day After Tomorrow.
That's the one. You'll remember it. It's the Statue of Liberty covered in snow and ice.
Oh, that one. The global warming. Yes. The natural disaster special effects movie. The same people that did Independence Day.
Yes, exactly. So I thought that was a good one because it's one of those that when you see it on, or at least for me, I kind of go, oh, yeah, okay, I'll watch the rest of this. And it is, the flood through New York City, and it kind of wipes it off the map, and guys freeze to death in helicopters. I mean, it's one of those great apocalyptic end of the world kind of things.
Well, I remember it being a special effects extravaganza, very light on plot, but very heavy on visual effects.
Light on plot may be the understatement. So that's a good one. I think that's a good one to watch.
Okay, of all the possible selections, that's the one you're opening with.
I'm opening weak.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're going on the back of the list moving forward.
Well, it's going to be kind of a mishmash because I don't like his list, but I didn't have time to put it in any kind of order.
So this is the Walt list as it pops in your head. Gotcha. No real
ordering.
order.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, and this one's actually a good one. The next one, World War Z.
Okay, great book, shitty execution for a movie.
Oh, yeah, but if you can separate the two, it's not a bad 90-minute watch, right?
You know what? In some ways, it was better than season 8 of The Walking Dead.
Oh, well, yeah, I can go through the whole list then. That's kind of the bad, dark end of
for a post-apocalyptic show having to do with some kind of a contagion that nobody knew they had until everybody started to die. It was a great start for about 6.5 seasons. 7 got a little weak.
I still think that season 1, 2, and 3 of that show are 3 of the best seasons of any show ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Too bad it went south. And I know they're trying to rebuild, but I don't know how many people are actually watching it anymore.
Well, maybe after this last week, people might regain some interest in it.
I've watched every other pandemic thing. I guess I'll go back and watch the True Disaster episode or season 9. Or I guess, are they on season 10 now? Yeah, they're on season 10.
Season 10. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this next one, I won't say it started everything because it didn't, because there's some before it, but this was a big one, and it was the Andromeda Strain from 1971. Do you remember that one?
To me, that is the #1 best pandemic movie written by a very young, very early writer, Michael Crichton, who had realized he was a doctor, thought he'd have a life in the ER, and realized, it's more fun to write about this scientific crap than actually have to do the doctoring piece. So, but a great writer. I've got so many. The wife and I are big Crichton fans before he passed away. But the Andromeda Strain, fantastic book and a pretty darn good movie.
Yeah, and you think about it, the movie came out in 71, book came out in 69. What kind of forethinking and foresight did he have?
The fact that he had that microbiology background and could just talk about the evolution and what viruses or bacteria might go through as they either adapt or morph or change. And I remember how they couldn't figure out in the movie, and I don't want to give any spoilers because people might actually say, hey, I've always wanted to watch that. Maybe I will after these guys talked about it. But how they couldn't figure out, why did the baby not come down with it? What? But the baby's always crying. So what is it about the crying? And it was just awesome. Awesome movie.
It is a fantastic movie. If you can find it, I should have looked up where you can watch it, but I'm sure you can find it on Amazon and get a copy of it or download it somewhere. But it's amazing. It's a great movie. The next one on my list is I Am Legend.
Oh, see, that's just another version of Omega Man, just retold with Will Smith. With the original Omega Man was with Charlton Heston, which is on my list if you're going to pick movies.
That is also on my list as well.
The whole idea of you think you're the last human being alive.
Yeah, and I'm a Will Smith fan, so I really liked it. But I still give the nod to the Omega Man. That is such a great movie.
I Am Legend was great until they introduced the overly strong human mutants. There's no way they could do what they do. They're not aliens with a different biology and physiology. I don't care how hopped up you are or whatever's coursing through your body. You can't flip cars over, and that just got to be a little silly to me for the drama. Omega Man, I think, is a fantastic version of I Am Legend. And I do like Will Smith, too. I just thought it got a little silly in its execution.
Yeah, I think the first 3/4 of the movie are awesome. Yeah. And then you have kind of it ends
kind of on a happy ending, and it's not supposed to. Yeah. But we know it was the remake, so they had to give our latest 21st century audience a sense of they figured it out.
Yeah, it all works out in the end.
Yes, it's happy ever after.
Yeah, where not so much. Okay, so the next one is one that I like and don't like at the same time. 2008, Cloverfield.
I love that movie. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe I saw it when I was in that mood where I thought it was going to be a shit movie. I know it's J.J. Abrams produced, but the fact that they make it look like they shot it all continuously on, it's like that found footage taken to that next level where everything's shot on a home video camera. I really, really liked it. I thought it was really well done.
I did too.
And actually,
I think
the sequel with John Goodman is really good. 10 Cloverfield?
Yes.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I do too. And I think the only thing I didn't like about it is that it does, and I don't want to give the end away, but it does kind of leave you hanging a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I really wish I knew this, and this. But
and for my wife,
it's just so good.
For my wife, if you're not into the shaky cam footage, it makes you feel sick to your stomach because you're watching somebody running with a camcorder or a handheld video camera. She doesn't like that. She liked the movie, but there were places where she's like, okay, I can't watch right now because it's too dizzying right now. It's making me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, and I actually liked that.
For me, I was fine.
A lot to the movie. Yeah, so that POV definitely makes you feel like you're in the middle of it. They did a really good job of that, and that is kind of classic J.J. Abrams. He really lets you connect with the characters really well through that.
Well, again, he produced it, didn't direct, but he definitely had a creative a creative side behind it. He was definitely a force to push it.
Yeah, absolutely was. So the next two I'm going to put together, 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later.
28 Days Later was such an innovative thing. And I remember back when video cameras were starting to shrink down and become a little more affordable, and software was becoming available to let people do a lot better with video editing at your home computer rather than they have these proprietary programs that they've built and things. Mm-hmm. And I remember they shot them on Canon XL1s. And I always thought, oh my God, that's the video camera I want. Obviously, it's archaic by today's standards, but that whole thing was shot with these just independent filmmakers. They just had a really cool story. They had a few days to shoot this movie, and 28 Days Later is fantastic. They got a lot bigger budget for 28. Was it 28 Weeks Later?
28 Weeks Later, yeah.
Yeah, they had a lot bigger budget for that one. I don't know that it's as compelling. It almost feels sort of like a rehash of the first movie. With the first movie, it's just kind of raw filmmaking, but it's so good. It's well worth watching if you've never seen it.
I agree, and I like 28 Weeks Later better than I like 28 Days Later.
Really? Okay.
As well. Yeah, I did.
Well, everyone's got the right to be wrong.
I don't know why. And I know why I'm wrong, but it's okay.
It's got a much bigger budget, though. You could tell they really amped the background, the extras, the amount of shooting locations. But when you break it down, they didn't really advance the story a whole lot. It's very similar to the first movie.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think what I liked about it is it's at the end of 28 Days Later, it's like, okay, where do we go from here? And you get to see where people are, months down the road. I don't know why that kind of sparked my interest, but and then from that article, the last one that I wanted to mention was The Great Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got to start off with Night of the Living Dead because a comet supposedly brought some material that a contagion, if you will, that brought the dead back. But yeah, the Dawn of the Dead took it to the next level. That was the first true zombie movie I ever saw when I got to that, impressionable age, the 12, 13, 14-year-old where we were going to the video store and a buddy of mine said, you've got to check out this movie. And I had never seen anything like it before. And I think because of that, I have always had in the back of my mind or in the back of my desires of horror and whatever, that genre, the zombie flick has always been there for me thanks to George Romero's Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, and Dawn of the Dead is, in both of those movies, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, two fantastic movies, scared the living crap out of me.
I even liked Day of the Dead. I thought that was because it told another version of the story and escalating it on in this world that's been slowly taken over by The Walking Dead.
Yes, and it gives you the sense of this doesn't get any better. We're still living in that same world and seeing how people deal with it. Mm-hmm. So, well, on a happier note.
Okay, I was saying that's on your list because you left a couple out, but I can throw. Well,
oh no, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, if you're heading to a happier note, one of my all-time, since we're in the zombie kind of genre with its. Especially when it's about either a comet that might be dropping material or some lab experiment gets out or, some contagion we didn't know we all had some pathogen turning us into the, flesh-eating zombies. I love Shaun of the Dead.
That's what I was about to mention. That is one of my favorite movies. It's a horror movie, but it is a great comedy.
It is, and they managed to walk that line so well that there's moments where you almost feel like you're crying. It's so wrenching what they're going through. Yeah. And they immediately get you laughing the next minute. It is a fantastic film. I know they say they borrowed from all this, but I don't care. They took this borrowed material and came up with something completely fresh and new. Shaun of the Dead, easily one of the best zombie movies ever.
When we were breaking down Young Frankenstein, one of the things that we kept saying over and over again, and I think we would do the same thing if we broke that movie down minute by minute, they never let you forget that they're a comedy, and they never let you forget that they're a monster movie, or in this case, a horror film.
Right.
And it does keep, as you walk through it, you don't know whether you're about to get hit with a great joke or get horrified with something frightening and horrible. And it is one of the best movies in the genre.
Yeah. I think they do something very similar where, young Frankenstein, or even just the Frankenstein story of, can you play God? Can you control something?
Yes.
What is it to make life? And what is it? Why do you think you can control life? Isn't life itself its own master? Those big ideas, they were still at place in Young Frankenstein with, Shaun of the Dead. The underlying message is, are we all kind of walking zombies? We watch our phones. We disconnect from people. We don't know how to make conversations anymore. We grunt. We don't want to make real conversation. And sort of that underlying thematic message sort of drove underneath the whole Shaun of the Dead zombie story. And I love that. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, I thought so too. And if you are not a fan of horror movies and you just want a good comedy, I think that is still a movie that you can sit down and watch, and you're not going to be grossed out too often. You're not going to have too many, unnerving jump scares. And the comedy's rich enough that you could really enjoy watching that.
It does. It somehow walks that line, because there is some graphic things that happen. It's a zombie movie, but there's so many funny moments, and just the quirkiness of the main characters. It's a charming. There we are. I'm using that word. It's a charming zombie movie.
Well, it's British, so you get charming.
It's British. Yes.
Yes. So, okay. So then there's another article I wanted to talk about real quick, from vulture.com. And we're not going to go through all these, but the 100 best movies on Netflix right now. One of them right off the bat I disagree with. It's The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Have you seen that?
I want to watch that, but as you know, I've got an affiliation with an actual cowboy legend, Jim Dunham, and he is a cowboy himself. He's a trick gun artist. He was with us in season 2 on Blazing Saddles, talking about the sacking of Rock Ridge. He's the historian and special projects manager at the Booth Western Art Museum, which, by the way, folks, got selected in the USA Today Readers Poll as the best art museum in the country. This was not just in Georgia, not in Northwest Georgia, in the country. It was up against major museums. That's how cool this is. And I know the guy who works there, and he was on our show with us. And he said, I watched it and I wanted to like it. I just couldn't find my way to liking it the way I wanted to.
I agree with him 100%. I really wanted to like it. I wanted to like it as a comedy or as a Western or as something. I did not like it. End to end, I did not enjoy it. So,
but for some reason, the Coen brothers, they've got that kind of myth around them now. It's almost like, oh my God, it's a Coen brothers. It's got to be great. Well, there's a couple of Coen brother movies I've seen. I'm like, okay, not so good. Some are brilliant. Absolutely my favorite movies of all time. But you know what? They're not batting 1,000. Let's just say that.
No, and I imagine there are some people who probably are screaming at me right now, thinking I'm an idiot. But it just
they'd be right, but for a whole different reason.
They would be right, yeah, for a different reason. So, the next one, as I'm going to jump through this list real quick, but Blade Runner is on the list.
The original or 2049?
The original, yeah. The original.
Great movie. Still one of my all-time favorite sci-fi sort of a realistic sci-fi view of the future where the Earth has been sort of left in this consistent rain and just haze, and just you've got these replicants that were made, bioengineered humans to be slaves for off-world labor. Harrison Ford getting dark and gritty, almost a noir-style detective story. Love that movie.
Yes, absolutely. And in many ways, if you want to get a textbook sci-fi, that is one to go to.
Yeah, it's a true sci-fi. It's not sci-fantasy. It's sci-fi.
No, absolutely. Another one on their list is one we've already talked about, and that's Cloverfield. So that's also on Netflix this month. Here's one that they have on the list that I am 50-50 on. I never got caught up in this movie like a lot of my friends did, but that's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Visually
and I think
stunning.
In all of our years as friends, I've never heard what you think about that movie.
Visually stunning. I watched it the first time when it came out because it got a lot of acclaim to the Academy Awards. And
yes,
I really liked it, but it left me like it was one of those weird endings where I said, wait, it's going to end like this? And then it left me feeling so down at the end that it's been a long time. I am due a rewatching, but Chow Yun-Fat, awesome as the lead. I forgot the female lead who actually ended up working on I think what was it? Was it J.J. Abrams?
I can see her face and I can't put it together.
But she ended up being, because she speaks both Chinese and American, but she's ended up being in a lot of action movies as sort of a matriarch martial artist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She is awesome. And I think, was it one of the Netflix series about, oh crap. It was, it may have been a Jessica Jones, or there was one of them where she was sort of like the matriarch of the family.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, she's such a good actress. But yeah, there's so many things that you should like about Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I need to go rewatch it. I just remember feeling like all this beautiful cinematography, these fantastic characters, and it just felt like, oh, that's how it ends. It just kind of ends on for me, I remember ending it kind of on a downer, and I just felt like, ugh. So I have to rewatch it.
Yeah. I agree with you. And she was also in Godzilla King of the Monsters in 2019, which was excellent.
What's her name?
I really liked it. Yeah.
Isn't it?
I knew you were going to do that to me. It's Ziyi Zhang. Ziyizhang.
Okay, and is that the person?
Or are you talking about Michelle
Yeoh?
Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Michelle Yeoh. That's who I'm talking about. The older.
Yeah.
woman.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, she was in Tomorrow Never Dies. Kung Fu Panda.
That's it. It was a James Bond movie. That's right. It was James Bond.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's great. And she was in a couple of Star Trek shorts, but was she ever in? Oh yeah, no. She was in Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, I think so.
She's in the first couple episodes of Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
Which I
just
to watch,
saw.
but I need to.
Talk about way off the topic of like movies that are for when you're quarantined, but I loved it. Crazy Rich Asians. She plays the mom of the love interest of the two main people, and she is sort of like, we are better than this other Asian woman who's trying to work her way into the family, and she plays cold-hearted bitch. But then, in true the way she can carry that character, you realize there's more to it than that two-dimensional character. And then toward the end of the movie, you realize there is a lot more to why she acts the way she does. It is fantastic, and she is going to be a huge figure in James Cameron's Avatar 2 through 5.
Oh, really?
Yep.
No, that doesn't surprise me. She may be able to salvage that for me.
Hey, I didn't mind, since we're going to have a segue for a second, I didn't mind Avatar, and visually, it's still a stunning movie to watch. For me, it's still, Dances with Wolves in space. It's that exact same motif, but you know what? Dances with Wolves is an Academy Award winning movie, and I still love it. So, okay, fine. You just set it in space. I still like it. And so I'm interested to see, can James Cameron come back? Because it's been a long time since he's actually been behind the camera for a cinematic release.
You know what my problem with Avatar was? It is that I did not see it opening weekend. I waited a few weeks, and all the hype and all the stuff, and I think I had it built up in my mind so much that it was going to be the most awesome movie I'd ever seen, and it wasn't. It was good, but it wasn't everything that I was expecting it to be, and I probably need to go back and rewatch it and give it a fair watch.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, and you and I usually agree on. So, there are some things that I'm like, what? You like that? But usually you and I agree on most movies. So I have to go back and give that a rewatch.
If you know that James Cameron, I can almost tell a James Cameron movie just by the way it's put together, just the style of it.
Yeah,
definitely. And it feels like a James Cameron movie. So even if you're like, okay, fine, we're going to have the themes of exploiting Mother Earth and Gaia's fighting back, and we have to be good to nature, and you don't like that. Okay, put all the politics aside. It's a really well-made movie from start to finish. So I'd give it another watch if I were you. It's breathtaking to know that he pushed the boundaries of visuals. I know George Lucas is known for pushing that, but at least James Cameron had a great story to go with it, whereas the prequels, there was a lot of innovation from George Lucas with pre-visioning and all of these things that he was doing that we now take for granted, but he had crappy stories.
Yeah, he did. He did. Well, a couple others to mention. The Dark Knight is on this month. Dolemite is my name. Eddie Murphy at his Eddie Murphyist, and don't watch it around the kids. But I'm about halfway through that. I'm going to finish it up this week. It is great, but you can't watch it around the kids.
Now, I heard that there is a documentary that you can find somewhere about Dolemite, and I forgot which podcast. I think it was 60 Minutes With. Watch, if you can, either before or after the movie, but if you watch the documentary, you'll be blown away how good Eddie Murphy does in that character.
That's interesting. And it was either 60 Minutes With or Radio Labyrinth that mentioned, and maybe both of them did, because I know that somebody else was talking about how great that is. So I'll have to catch that documentary. Donnie Brasco.
Oh my God. Great mob movie.
Great. One of my, probably one of my favorite mob movies. You and I have talked about this off the air. My dad actually knows the guy, or knew the guy who was Donnie Brasco. And this is, there's some Hollywood to it, but this is a fairly accurate portrayal. And really just a great movie, entertaining end to end, great acting. Johnny Depp, Al Pacino. And with this movie, you see how good an actor Johnny Depp really is.
Oh, yeah. And I love the fact that Al Pacino wasn't playing a high-level mobster. He was only sort of maybe a lower-level lieutenant, but he was still vouching for a new guy. And the fact that he was an FBI undercover agent and what he went through is just, it's when you realize it's based on true events, a true story, it's gritty. It's I can't even imagine what that guy went through.
Well, we can have a whole nother podcast on the life of the undercover FBI agent and his family. I love that my dad was an FBI agent, but man, that's a tough world to live in. My dad did it for a few years at the same time as Donnie Brasco. And some of the stuff that's in that movie that you're like, that would never happen. It happened.
Yeah.
and we can talk about it offline, but it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie. If you're a Breaking Bad fan, that is awesome. In fact, I might go rewatch that because I really enjoyed that one.
So I have to be honest, I'm still, I paused midway through early in season 3 of Breaking Bad. I don't know why. I just couldn't get hooked into it like everyone else. Fantastic acting, fantastic direction, fantastic cinematography. For some reason, I felt like I was having to watch it instead of wanting to watch it. So I said, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm going to put this to bed for a little bit, but I am going to go back because everyone said, you've got to make it, because as things start to really spiral in season 3, you're just going to want to binge 4 and 5 and be done with it.
That's absolutely true. And then Better Call Saul, of course, is the prequel, and that has really become an amazing show. So if you can get into it, you get into that world, you've got a lot to watch, and it's really excellent. Talking about mob movies, Goodfellas is on there, but I know this is one of your favorites, Alan, Groundhog Day.
That is a really, really fun movie. And the fact of the matter is, one of the last sporting events we had available to us, thanks to Corona, is we had the Super Bowl, and they had that great Jeep ad that really played Bill Murray back in that world where every day was another day, and he was going on these different adventures with his Jeep. Fantastic movie, Groundhog Day. If you've never seen it, maybe one of Harold Ramis's best written and directed movies. It's a fantastic role for Bill Murray. It's been now redone in everything from horror movies to on sitcoms where they take this idea of living the same day over and over. But this is the best. This is the pinnacle. This is Groundhog Day is the way to go. Well,
and two, we can recommend one of the in my mind, one of the best movie by minute podcasts is the Groundhog Day Minute. And those guys really do a great job of breaking that movie down. But I thought that Andie MacDowell was amazing in that movie. And it was probably the one movie for her that I like more than any. I think she's a good actress, but this was one of her best. And then Chris Elliott, and the scenes that he's in almost steals the show.
Well, I got introduced to her in 4 Weddings and a Funeral. And I remember a lot of people said she was the weakest part of it. but she was playing an American. And so she was supposed to be a little bit out of everybody else's caliber, but not in a bad way. And I thought she did a great job in Four Weddings and a Funeral. So another quirky British movie, one of the early Hugh Grant movies that put him on the map, but love that style of humor. So Andie MacDowell was pretty good. And I did like another Harold Ramis project that she was in with, oh my God, the name just popped out of my head. Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. Oh yeah. Well, and Michael Keaton, man, what has he ever done that wasn't good? It's awesome. Have you ever seen that? Yeah, I have. About where if you clone yourself over and over, maybe you've got little errors that make their way each time, and it's a little different every time. That is some funny stuff when he's got these different variations of his personality coming out. And isn't that kind of what Paul Rudd's show on Netflix? Is it Netflix? Yes. Another Me, is that what it is? Or Another You? What's Another Me. Another Me, yeah. That is awesome, man. I did not know what I was getting into when I started watching that. I think that's another one I've got to go back and rewatch. That is so good. I mean, it is really fantastic. I want to see that. It's not a comedy. I knew it wasn't comedic in the sense of like slapstick, but I like Paul Rudd. I know I didn't really know of him much until the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Ant-Man. Right. I still like his he's a very easy to like everyday kind of ordinary guy. Yes, he is. And in this show, one of the great things about him is that he is a versatile actor. And so he does an intense role that also has some good humor mixed in with it. But it is some of the best dramatic acting of anything, I think, that is on Netflix right now. Excellent. Let me throw one out here. You may have heard of this one, Alan. I'm not positive, but you may have. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. See, that's an example. That's an example where you set the bar so high, no matter what, everything else is still going to fall short, including Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, and way down in the valley, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. But we get the pinnacle here. So Raiders is so good that the wife and I, when we don't know what we want to watch, or if we're arguing about, oh, I want to watch a comedy. Well, I want to watch a drama. I want to watch action. Well, I don't want to watch a guy movie. And then, hey, how about Raiders? Oh yeah, we could watch Raiders. Yes. Like that's a movie we can all agree on. Definitely in my top 5. Oh yeah. It is the go-to movie when there's nothing else to watch. Okay, so for our listeners, if I could turn your headset off right now, I would tell our listeners you do not like this movie that I'm about to name. So let's spin the wheel and see what happens here. Kingpin. Another Bill Murray movie about a bowling championship. Yeah, Randy Quaid and Woody Harrelson. Mm-hmm. And so you do have a great lineup. I mean, Randy Quaid, Bill Murray, and Woody Harrelson. It's hard to go wrong. And I actually like the movie. I think it's hilarious. I have never seen Kingpin. Okay, you need to go watch it and come back and let me know what you think. Thank God it's one of the 100 movies on Netflix you have to see that's available now. Yes, you do. And we can go on and on. I mean, there are a ton of them out here. Monty Python, all the Monty Python movies are out there now. Holy Grail, and if you've never seen the Holy Grail, you got to see that. Raging Bull, Martin Scorsese's great movie, is out there. But I'm going to wrap with this one, The Shawshank Redemption. Oh my God, that is such a good movie. That is in one of those movies that we've talked about before, that if it's on, I could miss my brother's wedding because Shawshank Redemption's on. One of the great movies of all time. Yes. And great acting, one of the best written movies ever. It is just fantastic end to end. And I even at the end love the ending of it. I think the ending is the perfect ending. Well, I can't disagree with you. It's brilliant, top to bottom. There's nothing wrong with that movie. No. And, set and filmed in a prison in Pennsylvania, I believe. Yeah. They used an actual penitentiary. I don't know where, but Morgan Freeman, I knew he was good, but it's like he became Morgan Freeman that we know after that movie. Like he was always good, but he became Morgan Freeman.
Do you think he had a better role than that? Because I don't. I think that's his best role.
I think he almost plays that role now. Like when he wants to really do something really good, that's who he is. Like that's him. He plays that character. He just so real, so engaging. And then his voiceovers, he's the perfect guy for it.
He is. And Clancy Brown in this movie.
Oh, as the prison guard? Yeah.
As the prison guard. He is absolutely amazing. I've heard a couple of interviews with him talking about the Shawshank Redemption, and he makes the movie for me. If he wasn't there, it would be a totally different movie. But really just a great, it reminded me a lot of Escape from Alcatraz, which the old great Clint Eastwood movie, but gives some different twists to it.
Oh yeah.
But just a great, if you could find
and
Escape from Alcatraz.
I don't know his name off the top of my head, but the guy who plays the warden, you could not have a better character actor because he does a lot of those sort of smarmy politician or a slimy politician in a lot of daytime TV, a lot of roles. He plays the warden spot on.
His name is Bob Gunton, and he was in Daredevil.
Right.
He's been in the
he was in the Netflix series, and he was one of the guys that was part of a syndicate that was trying to bring the Yakuza into Hell's Kitchen. And
that's right.
Yeah, he was good.
Right.
I love the whole Netflix. If you want to go talking Netflix before they eventually have to go away, because now with Marvel and all these different agreements, the Daredevil series, seasons 1, 2, and 3, of all of them, the Defenders, the 4 different characters, Daredevil has been my favorite. Jessica Jones is my second favorite. The other 2, Iron Fist, can't stand it. And Luke Cage, season 1 was okay. Season 2, God, for such a good actor, just couldn't figure out how to be engaging. It just never got in. I felt like I was forcing myself to watch it.
I could not get through season 2. I really liked season 1 of Nick Cage, but I did not like season 2. But I love Daredevil, and that one end to end is great.
Let me give you, just as we start to wind down, since we're all going to be stuck indoors for the next few weeks, we're giving you a bunch of things that you can watch, binge, back to back, since you can't go anywhere. A couple of maybe quirky movies that you may not have caught. I loved this one because I love the actor Mads Mikkelsen. He did a movie, a sort of an 80s throwback version of John Wick, an assassin who is part of an organization that when you reach a certain age, you're supposed to be able to retire with all of the riches of all of the work you've ever done. But the joke about within the organization is they always send the next younger assassins to kill you so they don't have to pay you your life savings. And it's the movie called Polar. Check it out.
Yeah. And I can't remember the actor's name. The guy, the main character is black mustache.
Well, Mads Mikkelsen, that's the main guy.
Okay, he is awesome in that.
He's great.
He really surprised me of how good he is.
Now it is a not safe for family watching, because there's a scene where he's being seduced by one of the younger tarts, and she knows what she's doing. But damn, if you have a thing for Mads Mikkelsen, you're going to see just about all you need to of him.
Yes, you are.
There's a lot of him going to town on the woman.
Leaves nothing to the imagination.
Not a whole lot, especially when she's pressed up against the window waiting for the sniper to get a good shot.
Yes.
But it is fantastic. It was such a fun movie. And it's one of those ones you just are rooting for the guy that you know he's been an assassin, but he's sort of like that gray character that's always got that line of, the people I'm killing deserve it. But, when you're coming after me, after all of my years of faithfulness, I am going to, you better bring an army, because I'm not going to let you take me down. And I love that whole premise.
Yeah, I do too. And I didn't even know what it was about. I just started watching it one day. It came up as something that you might be interested in. And I started watching and got hooked. So that's a great recommendation. Another
one that if you want to, I am enjoying it. I really talk about Al Pacino. I like Hunters on Amazon Prime, a comic book movie sort of taking a license with the Holocaust and a story set in the late 70s or mid 70s of a group of individuals that are aligned to try to track down Nazis who ran concentration camps and committed atrocities and have hidden themselves in the United States, and they're going after them as sort of a version of superheroes. It doesn't have any basis in reality other than, yes, there was a Holocaust. Yes, there were people who fled to other countries and tried to hide their past crimes. There was never a group like this, but as long as you understand it's got that comic book feel, it's almost like the people who did Preacher, which was a fantastic series.
Yeah.
I am really, really liking it. And you know what? Al Pacino, he's learned, I don't have to scream every line I have given to me. I can actually be subtle and talk and be soft. And he is wonderful. I'm really liking it so far, season 1.
That is one of the funniest things I think I've ever heard you say, because it is true. he went from the screaming lunatic to being a just amazing actor.
I mean, well, the thing is, he kept getting Academy Awards for these roles where he'd have these, moments where he would just lose his shit on screen. And then it started turning out to be, the whole movie, this is me acting now. I'm just gonna yell. Oh, okay.
Right, that's not acting.
Well, maybe one of the best roles he ever did, or movies between him and Robert De Niro, was Heat.
Oh, great movie.
Good movie, yeah.
Great movie, yeah.
Last thing I'm going to leave everybody with, because we're wrapping up here. We're giving you things to watch, some of our feelings on some of these movies. If you didn't see it, it came out middle of last year. I think maybe like late summer, early fall. The Dark Crystal on Netflix is still one of the best things I've seen on Netflix in so long, simply because practical effects done with moving puppets, moving cameras, moving sets, creating a huge world almost on the scale of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, but set in what Jim Henson wanted to be able to do, but just couldn't. They just had the movie The Dark Crystal done better back in the 80s. He might have been able to expand his world, but the fact is the Henson family was behind it. All of the drawings and the work and everything was used as a basis to create the rest of this world. If you're even just mildly a fan of the original movie, The Dark Crystal, the 10-part miniseries on Netflix is outstanding.
Okay, I'll give that a shot. I watched a little bit of the first episode and got distracted by something, and have not watched that yet.
I will tell you, it's one that I'm going to go back and rewatch. The first episode, they pack so much in to let you know that this world is a lot bigger than what we saw in the first movie. You have to kind of almost digest more dialogue than actual stuff to see. But after that, it just goes off the rails. It was one of the best stories I've just seen unfold fantasy-wise in Netflix.
Okay, so that's Netflix. I was going to ask you which one it was on.
Yep, Netflix.
Yeah, I made the mistake of getting hooked back into Futurama on Hulu, and that's been occupying a lot of my brain space.
Oh, see, now you got me going this because we need to wrap up. I will tell you, I'm finally watching Justified. I am just at the beginning of season 3. It's a Timothy Oliphant produced and acted series. My wife had watched it all, loved it so much. She said, I will rewatch it with you. I have thoroughly been enjoying this Kentucky Fried Mafia kind of movie, the Kentucky Mafia, this good old boy raised in this, like in the hills of Kentucky. It is a great story of a U.S. Marshal trying to, do his job. And he's got all these forces trying to stop him from doing it.
Okay. So I've got that one on my list. So I've got to watch
you
that.
Of all people. Walt, I can't believe you haven't seen Justified.
People keep telling me that. They're like, that seems like your perfect show.
Yes. If you watch the first episode and you're not hooked, I don't know what's wrong with you. You can't be my podcast partner anymore.
Well, I will start watching that later this week.
All right. You'll probably catch up to me. We try to watch a couple of episodes every week or so. Just depends on how much free time. But yeah, that is the one that the wife and I are working on together. She watches a lot more series than I do, but that's one she's like, I'll wait for you. When you have a free night, we'll watch an episode together. So
that's great.
All right.
That's great.
Look at that. We just plowed through a ton of things, of content. You know what? There's at least 14 days worth of sequestered material to watch.
Oh, no, at least probably 6 months worth. Hopefully we won't need it.
Well, or we're going to get a lot more of it. We'll see. Walt, I know we're supposed to be working on Silver Streak, but I get the feeling that with all of these things going on in the country, all these things going on with trying to get guests and stuff, that may be a project that ends up being, I don't want to say put on hold indefinitely, but right now it's sort of waiting in the wings until some things shake loose.
Yeah, unfortunately, we both have a lot going on, and some of them are just terrible life things. Some of them are are good. Some of them are crazy. So we just need some things to calm down so we can get our act together and start working.
But I'm glad you brought this up. This was a great way for us to bring a show back to our listeners. Let them all know we are still out there, and the fact that you are all in the listening audience, wherever you are, you're dealing with coronavirus right now. We felt like, hey, let's sort of talk about it, but in a way that's the Wilder Ride version, where we're talking about movies, things to go watch. And you know what? Check these out. Let us know on social media, our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. Go check these out. And if you don't like them or loved them or whatever, let us know what you thought. And if you think we left something off the list that was worth mentioning, hey, let everybody else know in our listeners group.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. And we really do love the interaction out there. You can find us at facebook.com/The Wilder Ride, and you want to follow us there and then hit the button to join our listeners group. We've actually had several new people join this week, so we'd love to have a few more. So mention us to your friends and family, and there's still 2 full seasons of our show out there. So
and lots of bonus content.
And bonus content, yeah, and Patreon content. So check us out everywhere. We are The Wilder Ride. And also, we were on an episode of Radio Labyrinth not too long ago. So check that out. We had a good time with Tim Andrews and Jeff and all those folks.
And Stephanie Swain, that was great to meet her.
Stephanie. Oh, Stephanie's great. That was great to meet her face to face. Fine.
Yeah, let's give shout outs to some podcasts that we're either affiliated with or we listen to or love. I'll do right off the bat 60 Minutes With. It's a UK-based podcast. They go by the name 60 Minutes With, but they really have several different kinds of shows, ranging from music to video games to talking about movies of the 80s to interviews with stars, and whether they're actors or directors or musicians, to now there's a rant show. I actually get to lead the rant show. It's a lot of fun. They're not safe for work podcasts, but they are so funny. They got that British sense of humor. So give 60 Minutes With a try. Also, Bad Cop show. I listen to them every single week. They broadcast live Tuesdays at 1:30 Eastern time. 2 guys from Philadelphia. Not safe for work, shock jock, totally unpolitically correct, but they're so funny. Love them. And sort of like their alter egos in New York, the Real Queens of Queens, 2 middle-aged women from Queens who talk about basically like Seinfeld. They talk about just whatever else is around them. They talk a lot about nothing, but they do it in a way that's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, and all those are shows that I've either listened to regularly. Bad Cop I've gotten into a lot more recently, and really enjoying that. And we've mentioned Radio Labyrinth a couple times. They're not hard to find. They're at Radio Labyrinth. They do a lot of kind of pop culture type stuff that we do and put their own spin on it. For Movie by Minute that you might want to check out, the Rocky Minute. Alan and I have been guests on there before, and it is a fantastic show. It's one of those, too, that you can just pick up any time and you're going to get entertained.
Yeah.
Whether you start at the beginning or just pick up a random episode. Super Ego has some new stuff coming out. They're always funny to listen to and good break from all the insanity. As I'm scrolling through my podcast, the crazy thing is I've got a lot of sports podcasts on there that are not going to be.
There's not going to be any content there.
So,
well, in the Movies by Minutes vein, I'll do a shout out quickly to the Indiana Jones Minute. Those guys are midway through Crystal Skull. They're on a mid-season hiatus, but there's a lot of great content to go get caught up on.
Absolutely.
Jim O'Kane has several things. The Rocketeer Minute. He's got the Apollo 13 Minute that is midway through, but he also is in charge of the collaboration project they're doing, North by Northwest. Yours truly and Walt, we both got a chance to be the opening 2 weeks or 10 minutes of that movie, talking about Hitchcock's classic North by Northwest. That was a lot of fun.
That was great. Yeah, and then the last one I'll throw out there is Small Town Murder. If you're into all that true crime stuff, I try to listen every week. I'm a few episodes behind, but again, not safe for work. But if anybody's going to make murder funny, I guess that's
we make murder fun, kind of like Shaun of the Dead.
That should be their tag. So, but 2 comedians talk about murders in small towns. It's pretty hilarious.
There's too many more to mention, but I will tell you, I was recently on the Tron Minute. That's a new one from a guy in Canada who's a video game animator. That's a fun one because it is a great nostalgic backwards look at the 80s and computers and video games. Pretty entertaining. I got a chance to be on it coming up again in the next few weeks because he needed a recurring guest. So check that one out as well. Or you can go to moviesbyminutes.com. Maybe there's a movie we didn't mention that's gotten the treatment, and check it out for yourself.
Absolutely. And I'm glad we could finally sit down and do something real quick. I know we're both short on time tonight, but I appreciate you taking the time, Alan. It's been great to get back behind the microphone with you.
You know what? And we might be able to do a few more of these. Season 3 sort of on hold, but we can certainly look to put out content like this, considering nobody's going anywhere. There's no movies to see. There's in the theater, apparently. There's no concerts to go to, no games to go attend. In fact, they're even shutting down restaurants as we are recording this, saying, y'all just should stay home, walk around their yard. That's about it. So I guess we got our podcasts. We can always put those on.
That's right.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much.
Yeah, man. It was good getting back with you, and look forward to doing it again soon.
All right. You all have a great time whenever you've been listening to this, and certainly find us on social media everywhere at The Wilder Ride.
Man, this is going to be a wilder ride the next few weeks.
Oh, my God. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
But,
hey, we'll have something to tell our kids.
Yes.
Actually, our kids are going to have something to tell
our kids.
Our
kids are living through it. Yeah. We can tell our grandkids and great-grandkids.
You remember,
what did you do during the great weird thing?
Remember the great hand-washing scare of 2020? Yeah, I remember my hands was peeling from all the hand washing.
I can actually go find some soft soap.
I do. I need some moisturizer in the back of my knuckles are breaking.
Yeah, no kidding.